Hello, everyone. Hi. I saw that someone was placing a bet on if Lei will be on time. Well, almost on time. I was actually reading the comments. All right, what a week. All right, let's get started. The Epstein files have dominated the news lately. It's not a topic I usually cover because it sits more in the realm of US politics. But I didn't expect the very first bombshell to involve one of the most famous China experts in the West. It is a salacious story linking a sex crime fixer, an old Washington elite, and a beautiful red aristocrat from the PRC. Actually, there's a perfect picture. Oh, here we go. All right, let me put that next to me. So, former US Treasury Secretary under Clinton and who is also formerly Harvard President Larry Summers, fully aware of Jeffrey Epstein's long history as a sex crime broker, relied on Epstein as his personal wingman to pursue a Chinese economist. And this woman is no stranger. She is Jin Keyu, or Keyu Jin, the Western media's favorite China expert, a professor of economics at the London School of Economics. Beautiful, articulate, highly educated, and backed by a prestigious institution, as well as a powerful network in both China and the West. She has long operated as kind of unofficial spokesperson for Beijing in Western discourse. So people have asked me about her before. I never commented, other than simply saying that, look up who her father is. Now that she has been pulled into the Epstein scandal, all sorts of speculation have erupted online. Some say she's a spy sent by the CCP to seduce powerful men like Larry Summers. Others say it's unfortunate that she got dragged into the Epstein files simply because an older Western man pursued her. I also looked up what mainland Chinese people say about her. Most interestingly, some claim that she's a CIA spy. All of these claims piqued my interest. So I think it's time that we talk about this woman at the center of the Larry Summers scandal. I truly believe that the story exposes how a CCP elite family reached deep into Western power circle. So this is a long discussion. I will break it down into 5 parts. First, I'll talk about the Epstein and Larry Summers exchange or their emails. Then I'll talk about who Jin Keyu is, then who her father is, followed by her academic views, and last but not least, the political implications. All right, first things first. Well, a few days ago, Harvard's student newspaper, the Harvard Crimson, dropped a bombshell by publishing an article detailing how its former president, who's, by the way, is also Obama's director of the National Economic Council, how he became completely captivated by Miss Jin Keyu. So there was a series of text messages and emails from November 2018 to July 2019, right before Epstein was detained. These text messages and emails show that the former Harvard president repeatedly asked Epstein for advice about the progress of his relationship with the Chinese woman. And Epstein responded instantly with reassurance and suggestions. And in one message from November 2018, Epstein even referred to himself as Summers' wingman. Summers have been married to a professor of American literature at Harvard since 2005. It's his second marriage. However, judging by the email exchanges, he was intensely attracted to Miss Jin Keyu. So apparently, the two met during an academic conference in November 2018. At the time, Summers was 64 and Miss Jin was 36. For 2 days, Summers sent Epstein updates about his interactions with the woman. And the man described his emotions as conflicted. So he said, when I'm reflective, I think I'm dodging a bullet. He wrote, he said, think the right thing is to cut off contact. Suspect she will miss it. Problem is, I will too. The next morning, however, we don't know what happened at the conference. The next morning, Summers struck a very different tone, acknowledging that he was completely captivated. He was smitten. He called her smart, assertive, and gorgeous, and concluded that he was doomed. Or actually, he didn't use the word doomed. He actually used the F word. Now, from the disclosed emails, Epstein served as Summers' strategist throughout the entire episode. Summers asked Epstein how to cultivate mystery, how to narrow the distance, and so on and so forth. Summers even told Epstein that he believed the Chinese woman hesitated to leave him because she valued his connections. In a June 2019 message, Epstein responded, "She's doomed to be with you," or something to that nature. So here's the question, or this is the question actually that many people are debating in the Chinese community. So did the two actually have an affair? It depends on how you interpret the email exchanges. Summers wrote that Jin sent him papers asking for feedback and that he planned to leave her hanging for a while. To which Epstein replied, "Sounds like she's already getting attached to you. Good." In their messages, they used the word Peril as a code name for Jin Keyu. I understand it came from quote unquote the racist expression of yellow peril, right? And so in a later message, Epstein wrote, "The probability of you in bed again with Peril is 0. So the word again made some people believe the two had a physical relationship. And Epstein also wrote, "She's never, ever going to find another Larry Summers. Probability 0. All right, so that's all the highlights of what people are saying about the Epstein files, or what came out of that. And that's not all I want to talk to you about. What I really want to focus on is who Miss Jin Keyu is, and what kind of family she came from. So let's move on to the next part. Oh yeah, here are the email exchanges. I don't know if it matters to you. They're tiny, but I'm sure you can find these on the internet. But these are the original email exchanges between Epstein and Summers. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this woman, who she is. Well, mainland Chinese media describes Miss Jin this way. Okay, so she's fluent in English, French, Spanish, and Italian. She has a deep love for literature and the arts, and she plays piano and clarinet at a professional level. She completed all of Harvard's undergraduate coursework in just 2 years and earned her PhD in economics from Harvard at age 20. Originally, I mean, the original article said 25, but that's wrong. I think she earned her PhD at age 26 or 27. But the Chinese article said 25, which is wrong. And then it went on to say, becoming the youngest microeconomics professor at the London School of Economics immediately after Harvard. Then in March 2014, at just 32 years old, and touted as the youngest tenured microeconomist at the London School of Economics, Ms. Jin Keyu was named a young global leader by the World Economic Forum. And then in 2018, she was invited to the Davos Forum, where she debated U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin at the time. And in December 2020, she was elected as one of China's most influential businesswomen. On top of that, she's stunning looking, like a movie star. So Miss Jin epitomizes the ultimate success story of a mainland Chinese woman: beauty, intelligence, achievement, and power. However, her development was inseparable from her father. Where's her father? There they are. So now let me tell you a little bit about her background. So she was born in Beijing in 1982. She went to study in the US at the age 14 at the Horace Mann School in New York. She graduated at the top of her class. According to the Chinese, she was the number one in her class and obtained a full scholarship from Harvard. Chinese media said this. It says, this was actually said by someone else. Tuition at Horace Mann School at the time was around $40,000. And Miss Jin obtained a full scholarship through her father's connections. So she got a full scholarship for her private school education, high school, I should say, and also her college. Now, her host family in New York was Oliver Coppell, who ran for Attorney General in New York in the 1990s. He was actually the interim Attorney General in New York, who is also a Harvard alum, who is a Harvard alum, and also graduated from Harvard Law School. So Miss Jin lived with them while attending Horace Mann. It's certain that an ordinary Chinese family would have had no way to send their daughter to Horace Mann, let alone place her with such a prominent New York family. So to understand Miss Jin's success in the West, we must discuss her father. So like his daughter, Jin Liqun, here's the father, has also been highly praised by Western institutions. So in April 2016, just 3 months into his tenure as president of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, he was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people of the year. Now, again, this is what I read from a Chinese media. I haven't verified that. I was very curious about this, but I ran out of time to verify this. You guys can verify that, but this was from a Chinese media. So the senior Jin, the father, studied English and earned a master's degree from Beijing Foreign Language College, then entered the Ministry of Finance after graduation. In 1984, he served as the Deputy Division Director of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Finance at the Ministry of Finance. This was during the most liberal period in recent Chinese history. And then after that, from 1987 to 88, the senior Jin was sent by the Chinese government to study at Boston University. And upon returning to China, he continued to rise through the ranks. So in 1988, he served as China's alternate executive director at the World Bank. And then in 1994, he became the Director General of the World Bank Department at the Ministry of Finance. Now, Miss Jin was able to study in the United States because of her father's position. In my view, her academic development advanced in parallel with his father's rising status within the CCP. So let me give you the chronological order of events. So in 1996, when Miss Jin Keyu went to New York to attend Horace Mann School, her father was promoted again to executive assistant to the Minister of Finance. The term executive assistant doesn't do the job justice because it is a very powerful role in Chinese politics, and it's equivalent to the minister's chief of staff. And then when she was admitted to Harvard University, her father had become vice minister of finance. And when she received her bachelor's degree from Harvard, he was vice president of the Asian Development Bank. When she earned her PhD from Harvard and was immediately hired as an assistant professor at the London School of Economics, her father was chairman of the supervisory board of the China Investment Corporation, or CIC. And in 2014, when she was named a young global leader, he was chairman of China International Capital Corporation, or CICC, Zhongjing. And then in 2020, when she was listed among China's most influential businesswomen, he was serving as the first president of the AIIB, or what is it called? Asian Infrastructure. What was it? Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So, as I said earlier, to understand Ms. Jin's success in the West, we must understand how influential her father is. Most people know her father as the deputy finance minister. This is what most media outlets say. But the positions he held at 3 organizations after serving as vice minister of finance are extremely powerful. And let me explain. So here they are. CIC, China Investment Corporation, is called 中国投资公司. What is it? Well, it's China's sovereign wealth fund, established in 2007. Why it matters? It manages China's national wealth, especially foreign exchange reserves, and is one of the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, allegedly over $1 trillion at various points. And it invests globally in infrastructure, real estate, banks, energy, and technology. It's a strategic tool for China's global economic influence. Leadership positions are reserved for trusted top-tier CCP financial elites. So CIC is a major power center within the CCP's financial bureaucracy. Controlling CIC is equivalent to controlling China's overseas capital deployment. Okay, next, CICC, which stands for China International Capital Corporation, or in Chinese, 中金公司. It's China's first joint venture investment bank, founded in 1995 with Morgan Stanley. Why it matters? Well, it's known as China's Goldman Sachs in its early years. It handles IPOs, bond issuance, mergers and acquisitions, and sovereign financing. It's a grooming ground for China's financial elites and princelings, historically responsible for listing major Chinese SOEs in Hong Kong. The chairman is usually someone with high-level CCP trust. And so CICC connects Beijing's leadership with global capital markets, making it a key conduit for China's financial diplomacy and influence operations. And the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, it's a multilateral development bank established in 2016 as China's answer to the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. And it's created as part of Xi Jinping's geopolitical strategy. It's a financial pillar of the Belt and Road Initiative. It's seen internationally as China's attempt to reshape global financial governance. The role carries major symbolic value, showcasing China as a benevolent leader of the developing world. So as the AIIB president, he provides direct access to global political and financial elites. So her father's career, or career progression from CIC to CICC to AIIB is not random. This trajectory represents a full swing of China's financial power hierarchy, a rare cross-institutional rise, proof of deep trust from the CCP's top leadership. So those posts are typically reserved for elite technocrats capable of executing long-term strategic agendas. Now, I must mention something that's very, very interesting, and I think no other Western medias have mentioned this. Her father is now 76 years old and still hasn't retired. And that's extremely unusual for CCP officials, whose mandatory retirement age is 68. So perhaps you wonder why the authorities have kept him around at 76. Perhaps the authorities kept him in place because his daughter is more valuable while he remains active. Now, the other, her father's career trajectory highlights a highly networked position across Western and global elites, right? So his jobs or roles gave him direct access to Wall Street, global banks, sovereign wealth funds, Western governments, multilateral institutions. And this makes his daughter, Jin Keyu's rapid ascent in Western academia and her appearance in the Epstein files far more meaningful and politically sensitive. So now you understand who she really is. These connections, however, are also the criticisms Ms. Jin has received from fellow Chinese. One article critical of her put it this way. It says, there are thousands of Chinese PhDs and master's graduates from Harvard, most of whom remained unnoticed. Very few stand out and receive high praises from Western institutions, the way Ms. Jin Keyu has. People have reason to speculate that her exceptional success may come from her own efforts, from her father, or perhaps a combination of both. Now, because of her father's roles, Ms. Jin's academic views are highly predictable. She emphasizes the uniqueness of the China model. Actually, she wrote a book about it. So she argued that China has moved beyond traditional socialism and capitalism to form a high-efficiency hybrid system. She claims that China's state-driven model, combined with its strategic focus on key technologies, has enabled the country to take a commanding lead in industries such as new energy vehicles, EV vehicles like BYD, smartphones, and the solar sector. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know if she... I hope someone is challenging her view now, because none of these industries, China is not leading in any of those industries. So Professor Jin seems unable or unwilling to acknowledge that China's EV and solar industries have long been plagued by massive overcapacity and chaotic, unregulated growth. The heavily state subsidized model that she praises so enthusiastically has another name in China. We call it the Great Leap Forward model. So it sounds like she's promoting the Great Leap Forward model using her Western educated or using her expertise obtained from her Western education. She has given many interviews and public talks. She also published a book titled The New China Playbook, Beyond Socialism and Capitalism. The New York Times ran 2 consecutive feature pieces to help promote her book. I'm not surprised. So when challenged about China's surveillance state and the lack of freedom, she brushed it off by claiming that although politically sensitive topics may be censored, the flow of information inside China is actually very free, with vibrant public discussion across various platforms. Well, we should ask her if people can discuss actor Yu Molong's death now freely. And then on Xinjiang's mass detention of the 1 million Uyghurs in so-called re-education camps, she said something along the lines of, I think it's unfortunate. I'm not an expert on this issue, but as far as I know, the re-education camps in Xinjiang have been closed. And tourists can go see for themselves. We should all be asking whether tourists can really go freely on their own without government minders. To justify the regime's human rights abuses, Ms. Jin claims that the vast majority of Chinese people believe safety is more important than freedom. But how does she know what the majority of Chinese people think? Chinese people right now have neither safety nor freedom, and her freedom in China is secured at the cost of ordinary people's safety. They have neither right now. And in her speeches, she argued that China is still a developing country, yet has achieved innovation through its unique model, something she believes the world should study and learn from. So here, this picture was taken, it was a screenshot of her taken from the summer at the Davos summer session this year. She's saying that, or she was saying that China is a major stabilizing force of the world economy. Anyways, but I'm not surprised. You understand why she's holding these views. So, judging from her views, she appears to be faithfully carrying out what she believes is her mission. In a long interview with Lex Friedman, she said that Americans' understanding of China was far too simplistic, and that when she was just 14 years old, she had already made up her mind to eliminate people's deep misunderstandings of China. That may well have been the true purpose behind her going abroad. So, without her father and without the big brother standing behind her father, Professor Jin Keyu would not be who she is today. She became the model her father and the big brother intended her to become, holding a tenure position at the London School of Economics, enjoying a prominent voice in Western mainstream outlets, and chatting effortlessly with global political and business elites. She is part of Beijing's external propaganda apparatus, and not just any part, but a top-tier premium version of it. The release of the Epstein files may inadvertently expose the inner workings of the CCP's covert network in the West. As more files are released, the intertwined links among China's elite financial families, Western political business academic circles, and Epstein's broker network will no longer be able to masquerade as a pure academic exchange. So against this backdrop, Chinese state media have chosen collectively to remain silent. They avoid mentioning anything involving Larry Summers or Jin Keyu in the Epstein files. Now, interestingly, the Chinese public view, like I said, of her is sharply divided. Some don't like her. And listen to this. Despite her very pro-Beijing stance in the West, her countrymen see her as very pro-West, and they challenge her intention. So one article said this about her. It says, despite her father being a high-ranking official, and despite holding Chinese nationality herself, Jin Keyu has long maintained an unusually high profile and often makes controversial statements. For example, during China's fight against COVID-19, she publicly sided with the United States, claiming that if China wants to gain the trust of the international community, especially in the United States, it should provide large-scale, unconditional aid to the world. And then she also said China should earn trust by helping other countries, not out of strategic interest, but out of moral duty. So those comments from Professor Jin annoyed her countrymen. And the Chinese author went on to say something quite extraordinary. It says, it is well known that during the Chinese Civil War, the Communist Party frequently cultivated undercover agents within the families of senior KMT Kuomintang or the nationalist officials. And then it went on to give some examples. I'm going to omit the names here. And then the Chinese author says all of them were secret CCP members who made special contributions to the communist cause. And then it goes on to say, if the Communist Party could cultivate covert members within the families of the KMT elites, then it is just as plausible that the United States would seek to cultivate informants, public intellectuals, collaborators, or agents within the families of the Communist Party elites today. So if you listen closely, the article is suggesting that Miss Jin is a foreign spy, a Western asset. And that is why some Chinese netizens compare her to another Chinese woman suspected of being a double agent. Did you recognize who that is? That's Miss Fu Xiaotian, former Foreign Minister Qin Gang's mistress. Now, both women are attractive, or I should say very attractive, extremely attractive, intelligent, and well-educated. Ms. Fu Xiaotian has a master's degree from Cambridge University in the UK. Both have been the objects of romantic interest among Western men. Both are in their 40s, but remain single. And they even resemble each other in appearance. I think people say they look alike. They do. Okay, so I actually worry about Miss Jin's future. Okay, so here's my conclusion. Let me say, I actually worry about her future. She's likely to become less and less popular in the West, given the way geopolitics is shaping. Her academic views will eventually become her liability. If she's truly smart, she needs to adjust her narratives. But on the other hand, she cannot afford to do so. She's caught in a catch-22. If she shifts her narratives, she risks losing everything her family has built over decades, and it could bring serious consequences for her father. The father is 76 years old. So she's stuck in an awful and precarious position right now. And the recent scandal with Larry Summers certainly won't endear her to the authorities or those in control in Beijing. And she and her family may be the scapegoat in CCP's brutal internal infighting, right? Because it's not sitting well with the leaders, and depends on the dynamics of the internal infighting. She and her family and her father could be brought down. And also, when the CCP falls, she is unlikely to be welcomed in China either, because of her view. Her academic credibility will go down with the regime. So I do worry about her, seriously. Okay, so that's what I have for you tonight. And is everyone doing okay? Very quiet out there. I want to tell you about a video I released in my Looking Glass channel. It's about a very, very interesting man who is a billionaire, is a scientist, a genius, and also a very spiritual man. And he has offered a prediction into the future. So yeah, Nicole, if you could provide the description. Oh, actually, I haven't provided the description in the description of this video. So, Nicole, if you could copy the link of the Looking Glass video in the chat, in the comments section, I'd appreciate it. Okay, that's all. That's what I have for you. All right, what do people think? Too much? Someone said. Someone said, if an attractive D Glass 2008 said, if an attractive Chinese woman thinks you aren't interesting, and you know you aren't a stud, then she's a honeypot. Just to let everyone know as a public service. Thinks you aren't interesting and you know you aren't. She's a honeypot. Well, that's a good point. All right, let's see. Fan Fan. Everyone remembers Fan Fan. Fan Fan. Fang Fang. Okay. Paul Keenan. Hi, Lei. I can't stay. I will watch on replay as always. You are amazing. We love you. P.S. You look beautiful today. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. Someone asked me, Lei, is the Belt and Road Initiative a complete failure? It is. Is there anyone? I mean, the countries along the Belt and Road Initiative have become the homeland of those scammer, the campus for scammers. If you look at, yeah. So I'm actually making a video about the scammers. What do you call that? 电诈员. I mean, that's just, they're actually just crime organizations. To call them scammers is like being too nice, too gentle. I mean, all kinds of crimes are committed in those campers, on those campus. So call them scammers are just being too polite and too gentle. Someone said, voice on Espanol, a rich foreign student does not get a free ride college scholarship to Harvard. Sorry, Lei, your info on that point is not correct. Well, if I tell you, do you know that Xi Jinping's daughter got a full scholarship at Harvard? What do you say? You think her family is not wealthy? Wake up. You don't know Harvard University well enough. A lot of these super rich Chinese kids coming from the red aristocratic family got full scholarship. It has nothing to do with money. It's the power. So you need to check where you get that information from. Xi Jinping's daughter got a full scholarship from Harvard. I'm just telling you that. So I'm not surprised at all. I think it's abnormal if she didn't. Okay. All right. Someone Netflix foreign. Someone, given how much China and US have invested in AI, it's looking like the bubble is going to pop given Peter Thiel and the Big Short, you guys have shorted AI. How will this affect China? I don't think AI really has much future because the trajectory is dangerous. It's going to replace a lot of white collar jobs, and it's making human race lazier. It's making decisions for us. It's dangerous. So the divine is not allowing that to happen, and which is a good thing. If AI is allowed to develop the ways that some people hoped, then we're finished. So So I think AI is not going to go anywhere because it's not allowed. So that's my view. You know, you know, it shouldn't serve any it shouldn't serve as any investment guidance for you. But that's my view. All right. Okay. Two Lions property. Lei, you are absolutely one of my favorite YouTube broadcaster. Keep up the great work. Okay, I appreciate that. Please like my video and share. The views have dipped recently. I have no idea why, but it's up and down. Someone said, Lei, you're wrong. AI will advance. It's being pushed by these billionaires. Look on how many jobs are lost. Yes, they're pushed by the billionaires, but the billionaires can't even predict their own future. The billionaires don't even know what will happen. I'm sorry. I mean, the billionaires aren't. There's so many things that the billionaires do not know. So, oftentimes, I think I mean, if you really study human civilization, or if we really look beyond the human civilization, beyond this earth, every time when human morality fell behind human technology, there will be disasters. And that's exactly where we are right now. So it's not a good sign, especially with CCP around. There's so much has been uncovered about what the CCP is doing with biotechnology. It's destroying the human race. So when morality falls behind human technology, then we're destroying ourselves. So, and it doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or not. That's what I aspire to be, a redneck. I said it in my program that Lei aspire to be a redneck because it's probably the safest definition right now. You think you're smart, you think you have money, you think you have power. At some point, you'll find that none of that will help. Anyway, Brian Cobb, you surprised me. I didn't think the Epstein files would reveal link to the PRC. What was Larry Summers thinking? Good video. Well, thank you. I don't know what went through Larry Summers' mind. You wonder, why would Larry Summers be so attached to a woman, a Chinese woman, if it's a normal relations, to the point that he risked his reputation to seek advice from Epstein, who was already in trouble. I mean, 2018 and 2019, Epstein was already in big trouble. So you ask yourself the question, why would Larry Summers so attached to this woman? That's my question. What did this woman do to him? You know, it's not like this man is desperate for love, or maybe he was, you know. All right. Love, lust, someone said. All right. Okay. Rednecks are actually fighters for workers' rights. I'm not fighting for workers' rights. I think people need to be grounded and not losing sight. I think people need to have the basic skills to make a living. And all it takes is a major power outage. Then all the talks of AI is gone. When the world has a major power outage, all these so-called investment into AI, all the grand visions that these billionaires drafted for us becomes a busting bubble. I have said that some people probably can't even open canned food because some of the can openers in this country are electric, right? They're mounted under their kitchen cabinets and they're run by electricity. They're not manual. So even when you have a power outage, people can't even open a canned food because that's electric. So anyways, I think and a major power outage is very likely. A major internet outage is very likely. So all right, that's all. Oh, here's a question from Galia Lavova. Can CCP protection to Qian Zhiming and OneCoin crypto scheme be exposed one day? Thank you. Qian Zhiming and OneCoin crypto. Who's Qian Zhiming? Am I missing someone? Qian Zhiming. Okay, sorry. Well, I don't recognize the name. Okay. All right, that's all for tonight. I'll see you in 2 days. Okay, bye. Bye.